Well, Mr. Brass Dragon, they voted, and they voted in this poll here. Through the magic of editing is on screen, and they chose the Death Knight Mania, the time where for the one session that I was away in your campaign, the rest of the party managed to basically end what was supposed to be Tutorial Island.
Yeah.
Do you?
It was a
Do you
good
want
tutorial, to be fair.
very on how to die horribly, screaming, pain, agony, very much death. Do you want to explain what the whole idea of Tutorial Island was? What you were planning it to be?
So, let me talk you through it. We had a little island just off to the side of the main continent, which was designed to be like level 1 to 5, and it had an ogre king, who's like an ogre sorcerer, and he's the main bad guy, right? Simple, easy premise. There's orcs on the island, there's bandits on the island, and there's ogres on the island. Very nice and simple. So, at some point, when Jack here was skiving,
I had a legitimate excuse. I went and did a side quest.
well, nah, he missed my session deliberately. This was all part of his plan. The rest of the group, in their infinite wisdom, were heading off to deal with the orc clan, the main evil orc clan. Now, there was also a good orc clan, remember?
No, there are no good orcs. But should we tell what the party actually was? So you had.
I can't even remember.
I'll tell you. I was elf druid Ethlendil.
Which wasn't there.
Which wasn't there. Yeah, I was sort of the party leader, the guy with his head screwed on straight that stopped everyone from dying multiple times. There was Uzi, slime girl wizard, sorcerer.
Yep, that was
slime
it,
girl
yeah.
sorcerer. There was Mildred Droobersparkle the second, who was I believe a bard.
We're on the third now.
We're on the third at the moment in this new campaign. There was it Ruin at that point? No, it would have been
either Ruin or Broke.
It was Broke the monk because Ruin had already suicided himself. The
Yeah, I think
barbarian died.
it was Broke. He was a Goliath monk.
Yeah, Goliath monk. And I'm sure there was another. Dan, who was Dan playing at that point?
He was playing Adira, who was a Triton fighter.
A Triton fighter. Okay, so that's what, 5 party members, I think.
Oh, there was Josiah with his
Josiah, yes, playing
Santa's
his
elf gnome
artificer.
Yeah.
Yes, so that was the group, but I was away for this particular event. So you were talking about the island with good orcs and bad orcs and
Right.
and
So
things.
we had the good orcs and we had the bad orcs, and the good orcs were losing until a half orc from the bad orc clan, who didn't like his family because they didn't like him, decided to betray the bad orcs and work with the group to let them inside the bad orc stronghold through an underground prison. And they were armed with some explosives given to them by the good orcs in order to plant them under this stronghold and blow the whole thing sky high.
Typical sort of sneak in, get out, press the boom button.
But, of course, they had to plant them in specific locations for maximum effect, right? So they couldn't just not engage any orcs. You had to have some orc fighting.
Of course.
And as they were going through this prison, sneaking around, there was a set of 3 levers on the far wall with these 3 prison doors that corresponded to each one.
Mm-hmm.
And they opened the first one, nothing in it. Open the second one, there's like an orc inside or something, and they just kill it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third one has some magical enchantments on it. And they're like, oh, okay, well, we're going to open this one, but only slightly. We're not going to open it all the way. We're just going to open it a little bit to see what the hell's going on. Because I said to them, look, you can sense a powerful presence on the other side of this door.
So this is DM saying, red flag!
Yep. And they were like, well, we want to look anyway. I think it might have been the Triton's idea. Mm-hmm. And so the Triton fighter stood there, was like, I'm ready to tank whatever comes. And someone else was on the lever. So they opened it slightly, and I had the Death Knight just immediately grab the door to stop it from closing. And they made one attack against the Triton. The Triton survived,
Wow.
almost dies. He nearly gets one shot.
Did he get like really low damage on the roll, like just super lucky?
No, I think he had like normal, but the Triton was down to like 2 HP or something. It was, he was a fighter. He was decent constitution.
All
Anyway, I then had the whole group work together to do a contested strength roll to push the door closed as the Death Knight is like got his sword stuck in there, like prying it open with the blade.
Oh dear.
And they're like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. So they actually succeed.
Oh.
They push. This is the worst part about it, is they push the Death Knight back, and they actually succeed in trapping him in the prison back where he was. And they're right. We're
put
safe
that
now.
thing back where it came from, or so help me.
Exactly. And I was like, you know what? Well done, guys. That was nearly a TPK. Excellent job. You're all level 3. So well done for not releasing a fucking Death Knight into the world. Excellent, right? This was just supposed to be a whole. Oh, by the way, not everything in this world is your level.
Yeah.
That was the tutorial part of Tutorial Island for the Death Knight. It's like, oh, here's a tutorial for you. Sometimes you will get warnings from the DM not to open a certain door. And if you do, you're all going to die. But I'm really glad we all learned from this today. I'm so glad.
It's a learning experience.
We haven't unleashed the Death Knight. That would have been really
This could have
troublesome
been
for me
many
as the
characters
DM.
dead.
Yes, this could have been half the party killed in one encounter. So I'm glad we do this. Anyway, they move on. And
Foreshadowing.
they sneak in with invisibility. I think the slime ooze, has invisibility, sneaks in, plants some explosives. But as they're doing this, the Ogre King Sorcerer is seen in the courtyard speaking to the Orc War Chief. And the Ogre King has true sight.
Oh.
And he spots the invisible ooze, warns the orcs, and the whole orc clan starts chasing them down. So they begin to flee back through the prisons that they came from. And it was the slime who was like, wait, I've got a really good idea.
I have a very cunning plan.
As the orcs are all chasing us, I'm going to use Mage Hand from across the hall to pull the lever with the Death Knight in it.
Oh.
Now, this plan worked. The Death Knight strolled out, walked into an army of orcs. They're like, what the fuck are you doing out of your cell? We lost half our clan putting you in it. And now he's going to kill the other half. And then as they escape the prison,
boom,
the explosion goes off. The whole thing's blown sky high. Hooray, we did it. We killed the Death Knight and all of the orcs. Anyway, a few sessions later, back when Jack was actually...
Okay, so I'm back, yeah.
He's back, and he's like, he doesn't even know what's happening.
I am completely unaware of all this. I've got 2 NPCs with me, which are quite special to the both of us. They've got Gerathanal, the Wood Elf Ranger that I played on that Neverwinter Nights server with you, and you were playing Varric, the Half Elf Paladin, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's what we got the idea, actually.
Yeah,
to put them both in.
So we put them in. I had taken these NPCs on a small side quest with me to go and save a Fey tree and failed horribly, so I was pretty down in the dumps. So I bring these 2 quite powerful NPCs with me to meet the party, and I run into a bit of a situation.
Yeah, so as they're sort of leaving the smouldering ruins of this orc hold, about to go meet up with the shady half-orc that betrayed his clan, I had a little system where I was like, right, the Death Knight is on the map. We're using a hex grid map, and I'm going to have the Death Knight on the map, and I will roll a d6 every day to determine the direction that the Death Knight's going to move in. So 6-sided hex. So we can go in any of the directions. And it just so happened that the direction that I rolled was exactly where the party was. So
and chaos ensued.
There's a big old battle. They see him coming from like along the way, and he's on fire. This Death Knight's no longer just an undead in armor. He's smouldering. He's just Ember Shard is like a Dark Souls 3 end boss.
And
Right?
he is pissed.
The Soul of Cinder. We even used the Soul of Cinder as the little that icon for him.
I think we used the that for the music that played when you brought him onto the screen as well, onto the screen on the VTT.
There we are. So they all saw him come in, riding up the hill. Actually, he didn't even have a mount. This
he was just walking towards us menacingly, and I went, because I wasn't there when all this went down. He just sort of appears, and I go, "What's that, guys? Why is that there?"
Don't worry about that guy. Don't worry about him. He's nothing.
So we all start hightailing it. I turn into I think I'm a druid, so I animal shape into an elk, and I get the bard on my back.
Well, actually, they originally, if I remember right, the group decided to ambush him. They hid in the trees, and were like,
"You're right.
We're gonna wait for him to come along." Despite Eflindo going, "Guys, this is a really bad idea."
Again,
they're like, "Nah, he must
campaign,
be really injured. He must be so injured after that explosion.
Every
he must
campaign,
be on, like, minimal health right now."
Every campaign, I'm the guy with the survival instincts.
So everyone else, they hide in the trees, and obviously, at least one of them fails their stealth roll, because Death Knight passive perception is, I don't know what it is, but it's high, and they're all level 3. So, yeah, the fighter probably fails. A fight ensues, and then we have the NPCs of Giraffinal and Varric, our 2 Neverwinter Nights characters, hold the Death Knight off, which they manage to do for all of 1 round, while everyone else runs away.
I think they both do get a hit in. It doesn't do much, but both of them get a hit in.
Yeah, that's true.
But no, I grab the bard, and the party splits at this point because we all have to go in separate directions to get away. So I grab the bard on my back as an elk, and I'm running south. But I'm kind of running into the arms of another threat. Because what else was wandering Tutorial Island with this same D6 direction mechanic?
Oh, yes. So, before the Death Knight's introduction, just as a little Tutorial Island, of the way that some of the world bosses would work in this campaign, we had a young black dragon that was flying in and using the D6 mechanic to determine where on Tutorial Island this young black dragon was going to fly.
Mm-hmm.
And if I remember right, it flew straight into the party.
Not for this encounter, I don't believe, but it was very much on our tail, and I was going towards it on the map for this, but we did get it around it. But we're gonna fast forward a little bit. So you now have the stage set. 2 of our most powerful non-player character allies are dead. The party is split up. Eventually, I think after quite a few sessions, the party does manage to reconvene at the main town hub on the island, whose name I don't remember.
Whole Worm,
yeah. And we start agreeing to there's some other NPCs that we meet, but we'll gloss over them, and we agree with the town guard and the captain of the town guard that we're all going to move southward to go and sort something.
I remember what it was. So what you were actually going to do, you fought yourself safe, you got back to the main town, you reconvened with everyone, and they're like, right, the Death Knight's on the other side of the island, there's no chance it's going to roll and go straight into us again. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a side quest for an emerald dragon we named Emralan.
I remember.
Who wanted to reclaim his lair in a volcano on Tutorial Island. Now, this is just a young emerald dragon, and the volcano lair is going to be full of kobolds and things like that.
Yeah.
But on the way there, they were halfway to it, and they saw in the distance, from where they have just come, that the Death Knight had rolled to walk straight into the town. So they intercepted him by like, right, you know what, guys, turn the fuck around. And I was like, are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure you want to do that? I was like, look, people are going to die. We need to stop him from destroying the town. So they ran back, beat him there. and they organized an evacuation, and they
Hmm.
had this lieutenant who the group did not like before because he was a bit of a dick. But he and the guardsmen had an honourable stand. They were like, right, we're going to hold him off along the road, place traps, slow him down as much as possible, enough for the people to evacuate, and those people had to flee to the good orcs, which they normally hated because the good
Hmm.
orcs, with the half orc organizing it, were the only people on the island with access to ships, other than the one ship that they had in Whole Worm, which got sunk by
Hmm.
their own military earlier on, but that's a different story.
Different story.
So they have this big old stand
Well,
against the Death Knight.
but this is where the dragon rolls his direction.
Yes, the dragon rolls his direction while they're preparing for this fight, and now the dragon's here too.
It's
So,
just this young black dragon turns up, and so you've got guards in a line fighting off these undead horde that this Death Knight has been raising. This undead horde, including Varric, the half elf paladin. He is now an undead
indeed.
knight. And this is all a vanilla Death Knight, apart from I think rising some zombies and that, but just using vanilla stats at this point, I believe. And he just wrecks face. The guards go down. The lieutenant goes down. My character Ethlendil, who really didn't get on with the lieutenant, tries to keep him up for a long time as like a pocket healer. And then the dragon turns up. Ethlendil casts Earthbind on it to make sure it can't fly around and acid breath the entire field. And the Death Knight wanders over to it and just murders it. And then he had a mount.
Yeah, so this is where half of the group died because the opening to that fight was the Death Knight turning up and he was walking slowly along this road menacingly towards the group. And he opens with Hellfire Orb,
That
taking out
hurt.
most of the guards and downing the monk.
Which I pick
Then
up.
when the dragon turns up and everyone's like, "Oh, we should probably leave." Well, the Triton fighter that we mentioned earlier, part of her story was that she needed to kill that dragon. I don't even remember why. It was something that her elemental patron wished of her to do. So she was like, "Oh, the dragon has been earthbound right behind the Death Knight and his horde of undead. I'm going to run through all of that and get to the dragon so that I can." Anyway, the Triton
Not
dies.
not the best play in the world.
The
Like
Triton died immediately.
my entire idea with Earthbinding the dragon was to stop it from killing us, not so that we can go and kill it.
Yeah, because it was quite far away where you earthbound as well. You had to like
Yeah.
dash to get over there. Anyway, then you had the bard Mildred Drew Besparkle II. Well, he decided not to move out of the path of the Death Knight
He
when it was
charged
walking
in.
towards them. I
He
think
was
no,
drunk
no,
at the time.
he charged in and attacked some skeletons. He was fighting alongside the guards, fair play. But as the Death Knight was getting closer, within like 30 feet, so it was like, okay, next round, he's going to be on the front line. He's going to be where you lot are. Well, the bard decides not to move out of the way. He's going to make a stand heroically, or if you want to call it that. Anyway, the bard dies.
The bard dies quite quickly.
Then you had lying behind the guards that were crumbling. You had the monk who was still down
I'm
because
pretty sure
all
I
of,
picked him up at least once.
nope, he
Did I
was still
not?
down, and it was the gnome Santa's elf.
I believe the gnome was with me on that left flank.
Yeah, the gnome Turnowl, who was another NPC, little dragonborn NPC,
Also with me. Yeah.
with you and the gnome were all trying to flee, and Uzi, the
Yep.
slime, were all sensible and trying to flee. But the gnome artificer's mechanical companion was like, right, we're going to go over there and we're going to pick the monk up to try and save him. Problem is, that thing used all of its movement to get to the monk in the first place. So next turn, Death Knight strides up to them and just destroys the mechanical companion and the monk.
So that's
And
how many?
the-
That's 3 players out of 6.
Yes.
Skipping
And a
forward,
lot of guards.
and a lot of guards, and that lieutenant that we all thought was a dick died with honor and dignity. So may he rest in peace. But we're going to skip forward just a tad. Many, 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 many months, possibly a year of this campaign later, we fled Tutorial Island. We've abandoned it to the Ogre King and to his Death Knight friend. We've leveled up a bit. We've done a few extra quests, but we've always been running away from an undead black dragon carrying along this Death Knight. And outside the capital city of your human kingdom, we finally face him down. After months of bloody running from him, and we do succeed in defeating the Death Knight and the Ogre King that were supposed to be tutorials.
Well, the Ogre King was supposed to be a tutorial, but yeah, it was a good little climactic fight.
And none of
Nice
this,
and epic.
this is the beauty of rolling dice to decide what's going to happen in this simulated fantasy world. Because Lord Galorn, as we dubbed him, he was terrifying to behold. I don't think we've ever had a villain so natural as him. It's just you put him there as a sort of a lesson, and also as a throwback to the previous campaign. But boy, did he become a lot more than that through some very unfortunate dice rolls.
Yeah. He was good. I miss him.
I miss him too, man. I wish I hadn't killed him.
Bring him back. Bring him back this campaign.
One of the nations of my world is now called Galorn in his honor, because no enemy before, apart from the BBEGs, has ever given me such brown underwear before. Is there anything you'd like to add, Brass Dragon, in regards to this before we sign off?
Well, he was just a vanilla Death Knight as well. And the barbarian in that final fight, due to being hasted, nearly soloed the Death Knight.
We were ready for him at that point.
Yeah.
I think on my view, the best part was that I was away for a session, sort of doing something else in this simulated fantasy world. And when I got back, I was confronted with just the utter mistakes of the party. And
there was one thing actually about that. That technically, Lord Galorn, even after his demise, ended the campaign.
Yeah.
Because, now Jack, as you were saying, was not there for when he got released. But you know who was? The half-orc NPC. And throughout the whole of the campaign, because Jack's character of Lendil, an elf, didn't like orcs.
The only good orc is a dead orc.
He never, ever trusted this half-orc NPC. And the more that this half-orc tried to sort of befriend the group, the more he was pushed away. So, right at the end, he turned to a sort of political villain that we had in the town, like a really high-ranked adventurer that had amassed a load of wealth and was making a play for the throne. He turned to this guy's side and was like, hey, those heroes, as they're calling themselves, the Stormbreakers, which they became dubbed after they saved the city from the Death Knight and the Ogre King and his giant companion, they caused that invasion to happen in the first place.
And I
they released Lord Galorn from the prison, and then they killed Lord Galorn in the city and are pretending to be its saviors. Isn't that a bit suspicious? So the political villain confronted Jack's character, who knew nothing about it, and the gnome who went with him, who was completely clueless. I think he was half asleep, and was just like, "Get out of my city, because I know what you did." So if you dare try to move against me, I will reveal this information to all of the people who have just lost family members because
I think the funniest thing about that is that Ethlendil was like, yeah, we were going to leave anyway, and what did we do? Because it was news to him throughout that entire adventure. The character that I was playing did not know that it was us that released the Death Knight upon the world and caused that massive swath of destruction. over the aisles as we ran away from him.
Yep.
And that was that.
Then you had the divide of there was some players that wanted to stay in the city because they still had things to do there, and then there was the others who wanted to leave, and so the group disbanding happened, and we decided to go and kill an adult black dragon on the way out as a final triumph, and there ended the campaign.
But it was
well
a fucking good
before
one.
it was even halfway through.
And all because the slime girl let the Death Knight out of its cage in session 6, 7.
Actually, technically, it's all because the Triton was the one that wanted to look in there in the first place.
Curiosity
despite
killed the campaign.
My many warnings about doing that.
Oh man, that was brilliant. Right, final, very short thought.
It was a nice campaign. It was very good. I like
I
Death
miss
Knight.
it.
So I'm gonna run another one.
I have one roaming the world as we speak in the Tyranny of Dragons campaign.
Nice. Well, I have one that's in a prison in one of the random dungeons in the swamp that you're in.
Oh god, the PTSD. Anyway, I'm stopping the recording. Cheerio, everyone. Thank you for coming. Do like and subscribe. Go follow the Brass Dragon at the Brass Dragon 1 over on X, and he bashes action figures together and makes explosion noises with his mouth, except it's Dungeons and Dragons. I have been the Lost Law Scholar. Thank you for joining us. Good night.